Hello, all, and welcome to the Independent Author Podcast. I'm Tom Kranz. How often do you go on Facebook or other social media venues? Often? Once in a while? Not at all? My guest today spends, by his own admission, at least 4 hours a day on Facebook. And he invites debate on the issues of the day, no matter how unfiltered and obnoxious some of the posters are. He is Marklin Johnson, known in central New Jersey as Mr. Direct. He's a comedian, MC, comedy host, podcaster, Facebook star, and author. His first book, Lessons from a Shit Talker, is a local hit here in central Jersey. And his latest book is the subject of today's episode, Facebook Conversations, the good, the funny, the ugly. The book is exactly what it says. It's Facebook Conversations. It's basically Marklin hosting and what's the word I'm looking for? Not provoking, that's the wrong word. Kind of suggesting some of the big topics of the day and then opening it up to this discussion. And as anybody who spends any time on Facebook knows, sometimes those discussions can get heated. But I think what there are two things that struck me about this, and then you get a chance to talk. Thing number one is that you are absolutely fearless in provoking or encouraging conversations and opinions that differ from yours. That's number one. And then the number two thing I got was that what you call real talk, which is really basically just speaking completely honestly, that has a cost, right? And you have to be willing to bear that cost because, you know, your version of reality and the truth may be somebody else's bullshit, as you well know. And then there's also that blurry line between speaking truth and abuse, which unfortunately a lot of the people who you invite onto your threads, they cross that line. You know, there's that one guy who insisted on calling you Marky. You know, I wanted to slap that guy myself. It's like he was doing it obviously to get under your skin. And I hate to say it, dude, but he did get under your skin. But, you know, that kind of stuff is like, so my first question is, you're a visible Facebook identity here in central Jersey. You do a live Facebook show. Do you still do the two? You do one on, you do the Sunday one, and then you do another
Sundays
one?
now called Sunday Coffee.
That's right.
And
Right.
I had one that was Wacky Wednesdays, which went away. And I kind of want to bring it back because that's, you know, the biggest problem is when you're working a day job and you're used to being fed, you don't know how to go out and fish for yourself. And I've been fed most of my adult life, and now I'm trying to figure out how to feed myself. So I'm grinding doing that, but I want to get back to doing my podcast because that's where I shine. That's where people really get a feel for who I am as a person and as a personality. They get a better feel for it.
And by podcast, you're talking about the Facebook video podcast that you're doing,
the Facebook video that I do, which a lot of people, I'm on Spotify, I'm on iTunes, but a lot of people don't realize I throw most of my content up on a Facebook page.
Right. And you do that under the Mr. Direct name, correct?
I do. Well, Sunday Coffee actually has its own. Sunday Coffee has its own, literally has its own page now.
Okay.
And the Wacky Wednesday, if it comes back, I'm hoping my co-host will come back and give me some consistency. That hits directly on the Mr. Direct page, which I had to separate things a little bit just because Mr. Direct comedy is separated from that.
I got you.
So it's like 3 or 4 pages I've got to run.
Right. All right. So back to the question I was just about to ask, which is, you know, I go on Facebook because I feel like I have to. I do some work for my town and I go onto the local Facebook groups because I like to see what people are thinking about and what they're pissed about. But I don't engage unless there's something so completely ignorantly wrong that I have to go on there and say, no, that's not what this is. This, you know, the law says this or that. Because I just don't have the energy to go, you know, an entire day, arguing. Why do you? This is a really basic question. Why do you do it? And don't you get tired of the abuse?
Well, what I noticed, it's a weird situation. When I had moved out to Minnesota in 2005, this world was pretty much what we all thought the world was. A little bit crazy, but not much. What little, I remember sitting at home and doing AOL and being in AOL chat rooms. And that was all about That was all about hobbies and things you just like. What was your hobby? If you wanted to date, there was rooms for you dating. When Facebook was introduced to us, people started literally just, oh, hey, you've got 25 kids, or, you went, like you've done great for yourself, because they lost contact with coworkers or they lost contact with college people. I noticed nobody was really sharing thoughts and opinions. Then all of a sudden, when Barack Obama was elected, I noticed people did start sharing opinions, and they shared their opinions as if everyone is supposed to think this way. There was no room for maybe I'm wrong. I was more shocked by the people I went to school with who would say, I'm not racist, I'm not bigoted, I'm not a misogynistic person, I'm not anti-gay. But every opinion they were sharing was speaking towards just that. And nobody was speaking back on it. You know what I mean? And if they did, it was always how can I say it so as not to offend? So there was a lot of truth pulled out of it, because if you look at a lot of my posts, I don't post as I'm right. I post as, did you ever think what the other perspective is? Did you ever think about what somebody else is thinking?
Walking in other people's shoes, basically.
Yes.
So that brings me to one of the bookmarks I marked here. It's early in the book, and the title of this particular, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you title this one, Thoughts on Life in General. People get offended over stupid shit. These are your words. Today, people find anything and everything to be offended over. You can't joke about anything. This seems to be particularly relevant this week, doesn't it? This is why Kevin Hart is funny. He doesn't tell off-color jokes. He tells jokes based on making sure everyone can relate and laugh. Yet most of the jokes are just not funny. Look at Eddie Murphy as an example. Go back and watch Delirious and Raw, his jokes. I revel in that space. And I think that kind of encapsulates maybe your philosophy about why you go and why you have these conversations. It's all about, let's just say it and say it our way, and whatever happens, happens. Am I right there?
It's funny. It's funny you said that. I did an interview with a radio station about this book. Excuse me. And that's what I said. I go, people are so cautious so as not to share their opinion and say, I'm going to offend this person if I say it. And my thing is, that's why we're not getting along, because we're not being our authentic selves. And you see this in work relationships, you see it in family relationships, you see it in dating. Sure. People are scared to share their truth, so they rather create the lie. And then if you're the person that says, no, I'm going to share my truth, then you're ostracized, because how dare you share a truth that everybody kind of talks, but they don't want to say it because it's how dare you say it out loud. And for me, I got ostracized from my white friends, from my black friends, from my gay friends, because it's like, wow, I can't believe you said it. And I'm like, but what was wrong with what I said? I'm not anti anyone. I'm sharing opinions that people think, Right. You put alcohol in somebody and they'll say it.
So earlier, you dedicate this book to your late father, and you say that in God, I really hate quoting Dr. Phil, I swear to God, but he did say one thing on a show I saw a long time ago, which is that your parents are your number one influence pretty much for most people for your entire life, right? And, now that I'm in my 60s, I grudgingly have to agree with that, because I think about my father every day, and I think about my mom a lot too. But you basically said that, a lot of who you are today is because your dad was what you called a real talker. Do you think, was your dad what's the word I want to use? Was he as bold and outspoken and as not afraid to tell the truth as you are, or not?
No. In our home, yes.
Okay.
But outside, no, he was very cautious.
And do you think that was because he was a black man in a different era, or just
he was a black man from 1933 segregated South?
Yeah.
And he knew and unfortunately, most people that size, and it still exists today, if you want to get along, you kind of have to go with the status quo, shut the hell up, get a job, and get along in life. It's not easy. I've tried to do comedy shows in certain towns, and if people recognize me, they're like, oh my God, I can only imagine. I go, well, that's comedy, it's different, right? I'm trying to do public speaking, and I've had one person that said I could put you in touch with the person at the PTA, but you're a little bit, people know you as a little bit of a troublemaker. And I go, oh, how am I a troublemaker? I share an opinion. It might not be a popular opinion, but it's an opinion. And I say this a lot, and I honestly believe this, and I have to stick to my guns when I say it. There's still a level of they don't like a Black man to have an affirmed opinion, meaning he says it, he believes it, and he stands by it.
Right. And that's Black intimidating men, to people in your view.
Yeah. Yes. Black men are so, and it's different if we say it in jest, like as a joke.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But when you stand firm and you say it and you're like, well, I believe it. What's the problem? And the problem is even other Black people that have bought into this, don't rock the boat. Don't make it bad for me. I can't be friends with you because I don't want people to know I'm associated, because then I'll be associated with that craziness, which keeps my friendship circle very small.
More with Markland Johnson after this piece of shameless self-promotion.
We failed to halt the Earth's slow death due to climate change and environmental apathy. The planet's temperature rose 7 degrees, causing epic storms, fires, droughts, and tides that ate away at our shores. Now in the year 2212, food is manufactured. Coffee and cars are illegal. The people who are left live in cubes, and the Earth is covered with bubbling lakes of a black, toxic brew. Two 23rd century rebels find a way to travel back in time to our century to stop the poisoning in its tracks and the arrogance that made it possible. Their mission is complicated by fear among their 21st century hosts and the murderous ways of one of the rebels. Read Time Travel Rescue, the sci-fi adventure called Unique and Original by Publishers Weekly. Time Travel Rescue by Tom Kranz, available on Amazon.
So have you ever been at a point where you got so much negative reaction to something you said or did that you basically stopped doing it, or that you pulled back? Or do you just keep soldiering on with, what you believe is your truth?
I could say probably you've seen it. When I first really started doing it, I was reckless. I would go in and I would do it with reckless abandonment. I'd be like, you know what? F you all. I'm going to say it, and whatever falls from it, screw it. And I didn't care at that point, because when I would go out, all these people were cowards, and again, because we're talking candidly, some of the harshest people that would say the craziest stuff on Facebook in our town page, the minute you go out in public, they just want to glare at you and they want to make comments to each other, but they don't have, the gumption to say it to me. So I used to laugh about it. And I go, so let me get this straight. You got a keyboard. You're the keyboard warrior. You're throwing threats at me. You're telling, everything about my life and what a loser I am. But now that we're in public, and I even had one guy said, I'm a nobody because I didn't go up and acknowledge him. Meanwhile, you've talked about me like I was crap. You said some of the most disgusting things about me to other people, which come back to me. And you think I'm supposed to acknowledge your presence like you're somebody special. These people elevate themselves to a higher platform because they can't believe, even to the degree that, like, now that they see I've published books, now that they see I'm doing stuff, they're like, wow. So he literally was playing us for suckers.
One of the things about Facebook that drives me crazy, people will say things sitting in their den on their smartphone, tapping shit out with their thumbs that they would never say to anybody in person, friend, foe. They wouldn't. I was on the council in Fanwood for two terms, right? And I watched some of the vilest, most ignorant posts show up on some of the local Facebook groups here. Completely ignorant, people shooting from the hip. They don't know what's going on, but they're very happy to do that and do it ad nauseum. But those same people won't get off their asses and go to a meeting, go to a council meeting and, confront, in both of our towns here, Fanwood and Scotch Plains, the public meetings are open. They meet twice a month. You can get up and talk, but I think it's so much easier to just sit there and piss and moan on Facebook. And I can see where somebody who speaks the way you do probably gets a lot more of that.
I do, and I laugh about it.
Yeah, well, that's the only way to live, I think.
I laugh about it because they don't have the balls to say it to my face. I remember one post, one of the guys got kicked out of Scotch Plains Neighbors because he was getting violent with people verbally. So he created his own group, and I didn't know what the group was. Somebody suggested to me. So I went in and just added it. He came back. I'll never let your race baiting, racist ass into this group. You ruin this town for everyone. And I'm like, okay. And then he goes, and then supposedly he's at a bar. I'm at a bar. He goes in the group and says, look at this racist. He won't even look at me. I've never seen this guy in face to face.
Oh, and what? And he's in the same room with you, basically?
He's in the same room. He didn't come up to me.
Yeah, he posted though, right?
He posted that I was scared to look at him.
Yeah.
Right? So my thing is, and this is why I kept doing it. You don't have the balls to come up to me and be like, "What?" So let's have a discussion. What you did was you saw me out somewhere. Mind you, I was with a group of white people. I was the only black guy in the group. When he posted, he goes, look at this racist refusing to even acknowledge me. What a coward he is. And I actually told my friend, because my friend said it to me, and I go, ask him why he didn't come up and confront me and say anything to me. Like the arrogance that first of all, I have reason to be arrogant because everybody knows who the hell I am because I shoot off my mouth. So it'd be different if it was me saying, oh, you don't know who I am? You know what I mean? But for him to do that, and then for him to go backwards and be like, I was supposed to acknowledge his presence or I'm a coward.
Yeah.
This is what you get when you deal with people via Facebook or any social media.
Sure.
And it's within your own little town, your own little group. They all have the right thing to say. And the thing is, we all post. If you post like I post, it's clickbait. It is. You're posting to get clicks. But there's a difference between trying to get the conversation started and say, let's go where we're going to go. And the people that literally are so full of hate and nastiness that really they're just posting because they've been dying to say how nasty they are. They've been dying to say how, every gay person needs to stop being gay. Yeah. That's all they want to say. And I gave them the avenue to say it. But now that they've said it out loud, they're like, oh, shit, I can't believe I said that out loud.
Yeah, and this goes back to something that I said earlier that was one of the impressions that I got from reading your book here, which is the line between speaking your mind and being verbally abusive. That gets blurred really quick on Facebook. I can see that. And in some of the conversations you have on here, I see that you're trying to navigate that. You're trying in some ways to kind of be a little bit of a referee. It's like, I want to hear what you have to say, but don't call me names. Don't call me this. Don't call me that. And then I personally don't know how the hell you have the energy to do that. Honest to God. You said you spend 4 hours a day on Facebook. I think that's from early part of your book. That's like, wow, I got exhausted just reading 20 minutes at a time from
that was one of the things that I did. I didn't want to, like the other book was a quick read. Right. This one, I kind of wanted to make it more so of almost like a coffee table. If you pick it up, you choose a chapter, you can say, oh, I want to go to this chapter. When you read that chapter, it's enough to grab you, but then you can put it down and say, I'll read more later.
Sure.
But it's intriguing enough.
That's actually what I did. I read it in chunks because it's like, oh, okay, I'm exhausted now.
And it is. And it's also a show. It was literally a social experiment in a way. Right. Because everyone can tell you, like I told him and I got my point across, but here it is in black and white. Did you really? Or did you make an ass of yourself?
What else you got coming up? So you've got 2 books.
I got a 3rd book coming up, which you're going to love. It's called Conversations with a Racist.
Oh, sweet. Great.
So,
nice bedtime reading.
If you read the book, you know how like the people that are not racist love to call me the racist.
Right. Gotcha.
Right. So I was like, oh, my friend and I were talking about it, and I said, that'd be an interesting concept that the black guy, it writes the book as being the racist, right?
Okay.
So to get people to pick the book up, right? That's number 1. Number 2, well, that's the book I'm working. Number 2, I'm hoping I can connect with a couple of veterans groups. I want to put together a tour of only veteran comics. And we're going to, and it'll be in each state. So if I'm in Massachusetts, veteran comics from Massachusetts, and we'll do shows for them. And we're going to go up and down the Eastern Seaboard. And the money that we raise outside of the money I need to pay my damn bills, The money we raise is going to go towards homelessness and mental health
Oh, that's an awesome idea.
awareness. The reason being is we talk about it, but this is something that can be ongoing throughout the year.
Sure. Oh, that's a great idea. When do you think that'll come together? You think this year or 2023?
I'm hoping this year. I'm going to contact a couple of people involved in a veterans situation. What it is our comics get paid, right? And the idea is I'm also going to figure out a way to kind of document some of the veterans and have them discuss, what are they going through mental health wise and stuff of that nature. Because here's my thing. Politically, it doesn't make a difference who's in office. All our veterans are being forgotten. All of our veterans are being left by the wayside after they serve their duties. They come back with these mental health issues, physical health issues. There's some people that just can't sleep. Like people don't talk about it because it's like, oh, well, they knew what they volunteered for. It doesn't make a difference what they volunteered for. They're going through something and they made the ultimate sacrifice. So my thing is, let's entertain them. And while we're entertaining them, let's take the money and they'll decide. Like if in Boston they're like, hey, we'd rather have the money for homelessness, let's take the money and donate it to the homelessness. If they're saying, hey, here, it's better for cancer research for veterans, let's donate it to that. Let them decide. But, if you do 2 or 3 shows and each show, each show, you're going to raise a good amount of money because veterans will show up for veterans and everyday people will show up for veterans.
Yeah, that's a great concept. You'll, of course, let the world know when that actually happens, because I'm sure you'll get a great following and you'll get lots of donations for that. I want to one more time tell folks that the book that just came out by Marklin here is Facebook Conversations, The Good, the Funny, the Ugly. It's available as ebook and paperback on Amazon. Marklin Johnson, as always, I really appreciate you being with us here, and good luck to you.
Appreciate you, Tom. You have a good one.
See you soon. You too.
Later.